We're St. Gregory the Great Gym Group from Hamilton and Robbinsville, New Jersey, connecting faith and life.
And you're watching
Realfaith TV.
Judge people because of what your beliefs are, and it's human nature. We judge because we have our own opinions, and that's completely normal. But when we do judge people, you have to be careful of what you say because we're all human and we all have our own feelings.
I do consider myself to be a judgmental person. I've definitely done it before, and I know, like, if there's someone new at my school, I definitely think of them like, oh, they're probably this person, or maybe they're a shy person because they haven't talked to anybody, or maybe if they have already made friends, that they're someone who isn't shy. So I definitely consider myself as a judgmental person.
I think all judgment is bad. The word judge has bad connotations, so that kind of just shows if you judge someone, you're rarely saying something good about them. You have this idea in your mind about someone, and that's really not going to change unless you get to know them.
I don't think judging people is always wrong, because you don't always judge them in a negative way. You could judge them in a positive way sometimes.
You pass judgment on all sorts of different things, race, sexuality, all these different things, especially in this day and age.
Jesus teaches us to not judge others and to be kind to others no matter what they look like, how they act.
To resist the temptation to judge, I keep my opinions to myself.
I try not to judge people by putting myself in their shoes. If they look a certain way, I would, think maybe they're going through a tough time.
Hey, Emily, there's an interesting story I read about on Psychology Today online by Barbara Markway. Psychologist and meditation teacher Tara Brock frequently tells this story. Imagine you're walking through the woods and you see a small dog. It looks very cute and friendly. You approach and move to pet the dog. Suddenly, it snarls and tries to bite you. The dog no longer seems cute and friendly. You feel fear and possibly anger. Then, as the wind blows, the leaves on the ground are carried away, and you see the dog has one of its legs caught in a trap. Now you feel compassion for the dog. You know it became aggressive because it is in pain and is suffering.
That's a great lesson for all of us to remember when we rush to judging others or situations. It proves that you have to have all of the facts before passing any kind of judgment. That's a great story to start off our show today, which is about judging others.
That's right. Don't judge me.
I wasn't judging you.
I know, Emily. That's the name of the show. Ugh, blondes.
Oh. Now you're judging me.
I'm kidding.
All right, I got it. Don't judge me. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily.
And I'm Christian.
And this is Realfaith TV.
We'd like to thank the youth group, Jim, from St. Gregory the Great Parish in Hamilton, New Jersey, for helping us open our show today.
And for sharing the way they are judgmental or make a conscious effort not to judge.
We'll hear from them again as part of our wild card segment. But first, let's meet our spotlight guest, Katie.
She'll share with us the ways she tries to keep from judging others.
And talk about times when she thinks judging can actually be acceptable.
I guess I don't really consider myself to be a judgmental person. Not to say that I don't judge people from time to time. I'm human. We all are. But I've just found that as I've grown up, the more people I've met and the less I've tended to judge them because I've been open to new kinds of people and new kinds of experiences. If I am judging a person, I do try to judge them more consciously than subconsciously, mostly because I feel like that if you're judging a person consciously, you're judging them based on concrete facts and, logical explanations and opinions. Whereas subconsciously, it's just feelings and it's not always logical, it doesn't always make sense, and it's not always fair. I judge people to see who I would be, compatible with for a friend or acquaintance, I feel judging would be sort of right in a dangerous situation, maybe where you don't feel safe or comfortable with the other person. You have to keep yourself safe. But it would be wrong in a situation where maybe you're meeting someone for the first time and say you don't like their appearance, or you may think their personality is just slightly off. It's not fair to sort of treat them in a way that you don't let them do what you're doing or do what other people are doing, or you just exclude them just because of trivial little factors like that. Most of the time, in everyday circumstances, I really don't feel like passing judgment on another person is necessary. I feel like you should be open to new people, and I feel like everyone can make a difference in this world, disregarding their age or their race or their gender or their sexuality or their religion. And, I just feel like we should be open to making new friends and just loving one another. Why can't we all just get along,
I know, seriously, why can't we all become friends?
I don't know. I think our generation is a lot more accepting of others, though, than older generations, although our judgment can still be off sometimes. I only say that because I'm always hearing that our brains don't totally develop until we're 25.
I know, I can't wait till I'm 25. Jeez.
All right, let's get back to topic and see what our studio guests think about judging others.
Okay, they are
Lauren,
Juliana,
Naira,
Mateo,
Ryan.
and Amanda.
So, do you consider yourself to be a judgmental person?
I think sometimes that you may judge just because it's nature, and sometimes you don't know what's going on in a person's life. But if you take a step back and look and say, if that was me, I don't know sometimes if you would want to be judged like that.
Yeah, like some of the people said in the video, like it's almost like human nature. Like there's no one that has never judged someone. I'd like to meet that person, but sometimes, like you hear the quote all the time, you judge a book by its cover, but sometimes you just have to like look at who the person really is inside rather than the outside.
Yeah, like Juliana said, for me it's like sometimes an instinct to judge someone, but I really try not to, and judging a book by its cover really isn't right, so.
This is going to sound bad, but I often find myself judging someone that I don't like, and I don't want to, but it's just like a habit. If I don't like someone, I just start judging them.
Yeah, I think we tend to like judge people based off of like our first impressions of them. It's like when we first meet them, if there's something that we particularly don't like about them, we tend to judge them harder than people that we do like.
And I think it's great how you guys can admit that you do judge people often when you guys don't want to.
Definitely.
I think human nature plays a huge role in judging people. A lot of people think that as Christians we shouldn't judge because of the popular verse in Matthew chapter 7 where Jesus says,
"Stop judging, that you may not be judged."
"For as you judge, so will you be judged. And the measure with which you measure will be measured out to you."
But Jesus also says in John's Gospel, chapter 7, "Stop judging by appearances, but judge justly."
On the one hand, he is saying that you will be judged in the same way that you judge.
And on the other hand, he is saying to not judge someone by how they appear.
He is saying to look deeper. You know, like the old saying, don't judge a book by its cover?
Next, our Spotlight guest Katie shares the story of how she initially judged someone, but when she looked deeper, she found a good friend.
Let's go to the wall.
I'll admit there have been many times where I've judged people unfairly. A lot of my really close friends, at one point or another, I thought, oh, they're kind of weird. I know my best friend, actually, when I met him freshman year, I thought he was the weirdest person. He was really quirky and just sort of out there, and I always just thought he was very strange and off. I do a lot of theater. As we worked together in the plays, I started to realize he was such a really loyal, caring person, and now he's like one of my closest friends. He always has my back. There was one time in freshman year English class, we were reading A Midsummer Night's Dream, and our teacher at the time, was asking for volunteers, and he rose his hand, And she said, okay, you have the first line. And he reads it in a full-on British accent, and everyone's laughing. And she's like, okay, that was nice. Could you read it just normally? And at the time, I kind of thought it was very odd for a kid to just read it out there in a strange British accent. But now, as I look back on the situation, I realize that everyone in the class was just so relaxed that day. All the nerves I felt were just gone as soon as he sort of broke the ice. He was courageous enough to be different. Everyone was more relaxed and more open to meeting each other, and just no one was really nervous that day. And I think because he was courageous enough to put himself out there, I think it opened the opportunity for more people to get along, and that's why our class was as close as it was.
So as Katie admitted, it's so common for us to misjudge people. So can you guys think of a time when you misjudged someone?
Or a time when you were even misjudged?
Well, I know I'm on a couple teams at my high school, and I'm in clubs and stuff. And there's times when, a couple of your friends or a social group that you're in won't like someone. And you automatically adapt to what they think, and you don't like that person equally as well. It happened with me with the team I was on. And then I actually got to know the person, and we're actually really good friends now. So I think you just have to really get to know a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same story. Like, as an athlete, when I walk into a gym, I will see all the other kids there. And one time I walked in, I said, oh, what is that kid doing there? He doesn't look this athletic. And then we started playing a game, and I'm like, later that day, I was like, I want that kid on my team. So even judging during sports, not even real life, can be like the same situation almost.
Yeah, actually there was this time, or lots of times, I usually get misjudged a little bit on my height. And I kind of also look a little bit young for my age, so that isn't really helping me. But, I kind of get used to it, so.
Kind of going off of what you just said, people always judge me for my height, and I went to my friend's horseback riding lesson the other day, and one of her instructors was like, oh, are you her mother? And people often ask me if I have kids, and I don't. I'm 16. So.
Great.
Yeah, I think we hear a lot of stories about people who see someone and they find them weird or strange, and they find out that they're a really nice person. But I had a class with this guy. He was charming, he was funny, a lot of teachers and students liked him. But then I just found out that he was a very judgmental person. He wasn't very nice to people, and he judged them a lot. And it's hard for me not to judge him because he's not really the nicest person, but I still try.
Mm-hmm. At least you can try, Let's now meet our wildcard guest, Erin, who will share her experience of when reaching out to a new student made her feel unfairly judged.
On the first day of school, I approached this girl who was lonely. She was a new girl, and I wanted to try and make friends with her. And she judged me by the way I looked and the way I acted and who I was hanging out with. And I approached her later, one-on-one, and I asked her why she felt that way, and she told me why. And we had a nice conversation, and now we're best friends. That sometimes judging people by when you first look at them, it's not all of them. There's always more to them than what's on the outside.
I think it was really cool how Erin called that girl out and now they're friends.
Yeah, in some situations that can really work out.
Mm-hmm. Whatever the situation, though, it never feels good to be judged.
So true. What about you guys? What do you feel when you guys are being judged?
I think it's frustration, mostly for me. I'm questioning, why can't this person just try to get to know me? Why do they have to just look at me and think they know me? I don't know. Yeah, jump to conclusions.
Sometimes it's curiosity for me, because I wonder, how come you think that all of a sudden when we really don't even know each other?
Yeah, lots of time for me, if I'm judged, I feel ostracized or pretty much excluded, so.
Yeah, I think I feel hurt or there's something wrong with me. I know that this past year at school I changed my hair a lot of different colors, and I eventually dyed it what it is now, bleach blonde, and I cut it short. And a lot of people were talking bad about me. Friends were coming up to me and being people are talking about you. And I felt there's something wrong with me and that I had to change it. But there was really nothing I could do. What's done is done. And, I liked it when I dyed it, so I just learned to live with it.
And that's the thing. Sometimes you don't really want to make other people, you want to make yourself happy first. You don't want to have to conform to what other people think is what you should be, and that's really good that you think that of yourself and that you have that self-confidence. So.
Yeah, and sometimes I almost feel like disappointed because sometimes it's not even people that we don't know who judge us. Sometimes it's even our friends. So you're like, oh, I thought I knew you and I thought we were, cool. Like, sometimes I feel like they should, I don't know, be nicer.
I feel like people like have the audacity not to try to like get to know me and stuff like that, but they have to like judge you before like they can get to know you. Like I find that to be sad.
Definitely. Here's a scripture passage I think can be comforting when being judged unfairly. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and utter every kind of evil against you falsely because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven.
Ooh, I like that. I'm going to write that down. Where's that from? Thanks, Jenna.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 11.
Awesome. Next, Catherine tells us about the times when she was judged unfairly.
And how finding the courage to forgive those who hurt her helped her to understand God's mercy.
It sounds awesome. Let's check it out.
A lot of times when I've been judged, I've just felt really alone. I felt really excluded. I just felt like I was such a weird, odd person, and no one would understand me. When you're being judged, you really feel shunned from everyone else. Sometimes you can tell that people are judging you really subtly, and sometimes it's to a much larger scale where people are calling you names and, just doing really rude things. But in those situations, you need to always know that someone, meaning God and your friends and your family and people who love you, are on your side. No one is alone. No one is ever alone, even if you think you are. There have been times, especially I felt at school, where I have been judged based on my appearance. There's a group of boys who would call me the Crimson Chin because of my jaw. I guess they thought, it was too big or whatever. And that really hurt me. I think a lot of us go through body insecurities. When they passed judgment on me and when I heard that nickname, I started to wonder, oh God, am I ugly? It was a really hurtful thing. I went through a lot of body shaming and body dysmorphia for many months. But eventually I started doing more community service, creating more things. And I realized that that kind of stuff didn't matter. It didn't matter in the way my friends see me. I have people who love me and who would do anything for me, and I would do anything for them. So when that sort of bullying happens, they always tell you to do this, and it is the best advice. You should just ignore it, because most of the time it's not true. It's just tiny, little, terrible, trivial reasons that they're judging you. I think people judge others to make themselves feel good, mostly because maybe they're insecure about themselves, and they feel that if they judge another person, they can somehow benefit from their hurting and their pain. That's obviously not good. That's not what God calls us to do. And God always said to forgive your enemies, love your enemies as well as your friends. And I think, even if they do say really hurtful, negative things about us, we should always be willing to forgive them. I think that's one of the most beautiful things a person can do. It's one of the most righteous things a person can do.
She really hits the nail on the head when she says that God really doesn't abandon us. And we know that although someone else might judge us, God is never judging us. God is always on our side no matter what.
Mm-hmm. In the darkest of times, we could always count on him.
Without a doubt.
I think when we see situations like this, we should step in and maybe stand up for or help to support the person being hurt in some way.
What could that look like?
Have any of you ever stood up for someone being judged?
I have. It was in middle school. We were practicing right before a basketball game, and these two girls were like, "Oh, we're gonna try to dress up in Hindu clothing and go and do a Hindu dance in front of this girl that's Hindu." And then I questioned them and saying why would you do that? That's her heritage, and you shouldn't treat it like it's a joke or anything. And then they took it seriously, and then they were apologizing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool point, and I have kind of a similar instance. There's a kid in my math class. He kind of had a disability, and a lot of the kids would kind of tease him and mess with him. And I shouted out, and I said, "Hey, that's not right, guys. What are you doing like that? He's just working hard. He's doing his thing. Why do you have to tease him like that. So I think it's very important to like step up to the plate for people and kind of defend them.
Mm-hmm.
I have kind of the exact same story almost. In my English class, there's a kid who loves to volunteer to read, but he might not be the best reader, and when he raises his hand, everybody kind of goes, oh, here we go. And I'm like, look, give him a chance. At least he's volunteering, unlike you guys who sit there with your hands down. So I feel like it's the right thing to do, because, I mean, it's hard volunteering in front of the whole class like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was this kid in my grade, and he was in all my classes, and he had a hearing disability, and when we play an educational game, lots of the kids in my class, they would always try to get him out, like the first one out. They always tried to like exclude him. I felt that really wasn't right. I mean, I thought that you shouldn't really exclude anyone, so even if they have a disability or something.
Me and my friends on Fridays, usually we'll go skating, and we usually just like hang out in the snack bar. And there was one day my one friend was there and he was gay. So a bunch of my friends came in and started like coming at him for being gay, asking him all these questions and pretty much judging him for being gay. And I stepped up and was like, what should it matter if he's gay or straight or whatever he is? So why are you judging him? And they got mad at me for a while, but then they came back like a week later and realized I was right.
Really courageous of you.
Yeah, I think that's great that you did that.
Jesus is the good judge. He is also the only true judge.
This means that only God can truly know the heart, mind, and intention of another human being.
While we cannot judge people's hearts, we can judge their actions to be good or bad.
Lastly, Katie talks to us about how she thinks God will judge us.
And how a service trip to West Virginia gave her some new perspective on how she is judged and how she judges others.
No matter how old or young you are, no matter how rich or poor you are, God is going to judge you based on how you treated other people. Did you treat other people with respect? Did you help them whenever opportunity you got? Those are the sort of things he's going to be judging you on, not how rich you were or, you know, how many expensive items you had and your social status and what jobs you had, you know? I was fortunate enough to be able to go to a place in West Virginia known as Nazareth Farm, where it's a lot of community service throughout the town and home repair for people who maybe can't afford it. During the experience, you know, we weren't allowed to use our cell phones. Most of our talking was done with people we met in the town, and we got to help at a homeless shelter, which was amazing. Seeing those things sort of made me realize that, you know, maybe there's a lot of things in my life that aren't completely necessary. Maybe there's a lot of stuff in my life that I can cut out. Through these experiences, I sort of learned how privileged I was, and maybe for the benefit of other people, for the benefit of the environment, for the benefit of the whole world, there's some things in our life that aren't completely necessary and we can cut out. And we can spend the time that we spend to treat ourselves, treating others. There's just something so rewarding about, you know, helping someone who needs help. It's definitely more rewarding to help people instead of judge them. I feel like the rewards of that are much more beneficial than belittling someone or telling them that they can't do anything.
Katie gave us so much great advice. So what about you guys? What advice do you have about judging others or about anybody who's been misjudged?
I think sometimes when people judge us, we try and change ourselves to almost adapt to what they're judging us about. Say, like, they don't like our clothes or they don't like the way we talk. Like, I feel like we should all just be ourselves and, like, the way that God made us.
Mm-hmm. I find that sometimes, like, I unconsciously judge people, like, even if I don't mean to. So I think whenever I'm doing that, I try to find, like, one or two good things about the person that I like about them. And it kind of, like, helps me to, like, stop judging people.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel that you should not try to change your attitude. You should always be yourself. Because if you're not yourself, you're actually probably going to more likely be judged on your different attitude or pretty much personality. So.
I think that if somebody's judging you, you should always remember that God made you in his likeness and his image, so they can say whatever they want, but just be confident with yourself and know you are who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you shouldn't try to like please other people just because like other people are judging you. So I would like just stay the person that you are and that God created you to be.
And I know it's like so easy to judge each other, but like say you're getting judged, knowing that it's so easy to judge. So if you know that the other person, like maybe give them a chance, be like, look, maybe they really don't know me and they're just judging me right from the start. But if you work on it, you can probably be really good friends.
For me, my 8th grade principal, she wanted me to become this disciplined person, and she thought that I was such an off-the-rail kind of guy, and to be honest, I'm not. But she thought that, and she wanted me to go to this high school to become disciplined, but I really showed her that she wrongly judged me, and now that I'm graduating and going off to an Ivy League school, I really feel that I've like proven her wrong and like that she was wrong to judge me like that.
That's a great story. And also, our generation has to deal with so much hate right now. Our world, this is the last thing we need.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just better to, accept other people and accept yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The world is hard enough without adding the weight of having to deal with judgments all over the place.
Yes, it is incredibly important to make good judgment calls in our lives, but our focus should be on judging goodness and love, not judging to isolate others and break people down.
Being judged, feeling judged, can cause us to retreat into ourselves and to question our own worth.
We need to make sure we don't get involved with that, and even more, that we stand up and speak out when we see harsh judgment towards others.
We should all be working hard to make sure that when it's time for our judgment before our Lord, that we have reflected His love in how we have looked at others and treated them.
Judging others is easy, though.
It can feel too easy to focus on others' differences to move the target off of our own backs.
But we need to resist that urge to judge others and take them down.
And it's not enough to simply think we tolerate others. We need to be people who are about love.
In some cases, our judgments of others actually limit ourselves and our life experiences.
So true. We can so easily overlook, discount, and miss who people really are by rushing to quick judgments.
So, what does judgment look like in your life?
Yeah, we really want to hear from you.
Contact us at realfaithtv.com.
Or send us a tweet. We do tweet.
And we will leave you today with this final thought from the one and only Albert Einstein.
Everybody is a genius.
But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree,
it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid.
So be who you are and let others do the same.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Realfaith TV. God bless.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.